Shalom. I want to start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and salutations to the hopeful elect who are continuing to fight and teach this thing of ours in truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Manatazak with GMS Ancient of Days in Los Angeles, currently teaching with the Akim in Sherman Oaks. And today, through the Spirit, I want to get into a lesson that's titled, The Election Have Already Obtained the Victory. And of course, when I'm speaking about the election, I'm speaking about those that are about to be delivered from this coming destruction, that are among the elect or the predestined of the nation of Israel, which today are you so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans, and also the speckled bird that are mingling amongst the nations, but whose seed line through their father goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? The elect out of the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, pursuant to the scriptures and pursuant to the curses. Okay? The scriptures speak about a deliverance that's going to come from those that have been predestined and chosen from the foundation of the earth. And that's what this lesson is based on. And what inspired it through the Spirit was this situation with Shedeur Sanders, which is basically, been the talk of the town because of the NFL draft, because you know how Babylonians love their bread and circus. But as it stands, just for context for this lesson, Shedeur Sanders, who was the one of the sons of Deion Sanders, who's arguably the greatest, defensive football player of all time. All right, well, his son, who just finished his stint in Denver, Colorado, entered the draft as a projected first-round draft pick. Okay, but as the draft went on, he slipped from the first round and fell all the way to the fifth round at pick 144, which through the Spirit I thought was spiritual. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that the Sanders family and Shedeur Sanders are part of the elect. What I'm saying is the whole process of what happened with him is likened unto the walk that the elect have to take. And the fact that he was chosen in the fifth round, 5, which is symbolic for power, at pick 144, which obviously, the 144,000, I thought it was spiritual. Going back to the situation with Shedeur Sanders, it was likened onto modern day slavery. Okay, as a lot of analysts, okay, we're basically saying he basically dropped from the first round all the way to the fifth round and lost an estimation of $40 million in the process, all because they say that he had a poor interview quality. And the thing is, he's coming into the league not having a bad image, having good grades, having graduated college, and performing on the football field, even winning the Golden Arm Award for college football. Okay? But everybody knows, because he's the son of flamboyant Deion Sanders, they're holding that against him. And this is just me speaking in my own vain opinion. Okay? These NFL owners, they've long been likened onto modern day slave owners. And that's what Colin Kaepernick was saying when he was doing that whole kneeling thing. Okay, but what I think it was through the Spirit is just they were offended by his aura and his confidence in himself, and they mistook that as arrogance. Okay, he doesn't fit the status quo of the league, and he wasn't willing to change up, which in my opinion is admirable, because going by the content of his character, he's a stand-up citizen. So why wouldn't you have him come do his thing on the football field? But of course, it's all about sending a message that no one player is bigger than the quote-unquote machine. Okay, but he is unapologetically himself, and that's like unto the elect, who won't compromise and conform to this world under no circumstances. Okay, and the thing is, with Shedeur Sanders, he lets his game do the talking, which is likened on to the hopeful elect, who are being obedient to the word of Yahweh Shema Shai and going out on the highways and hedges and doing what's needful of them for salvation. Okay, but with Esau Edom, especially when it comes to Jake, it's all about humiliation and character assassination. which is something they've done to our people, okay, since they came to this land, since they took us in captivity, and even onto this day. Okay, we're seeing it play out right before our very eyes with Shedeur Sanders. Okay, he was the talk of the entire NFL draft, which, by the way, was the most watched in the history of the NFL because of its blatant controversy. You spoke more about someone drafted in the 5th round at pick 144 than you did all other players that were drafted, even the 1st round pick, or the first pick of the draft, who was Cam Ward, another quarterback, and Jake. Okay, that goes to show you that this was something more than what was bubbling at the surface, so to speak. Okay, and this is basically Esau Edom trying to send a message to Jake. Okay, and this is something that they've always done. But now it's to the point where everyone's taking notice. Okay, and the thing is, regardless of how good we are at our craft, the Israelites I'm speaking about, whether you be Negro, whether you be Hispanic, whether you be a Native American, so-called, Esau Edom, in his eyes, we're still just niggas, spicks, and tontos. Okay, and then to add the proverbial cherry on top, the NFL and the Browns organization had the audacity to put Shedeur Sanders' jersey on their website when they made it clear that he was just a transaction. Okay? But they put his jersey front and center on their website, okay, showing by their actions that he wasn't worth drafting, but knowing because of his popularity, they still want to benefit off of him anyways. And as it stands, the draft was just a couple days ago. As it stands, Shedeur Sanders' jersey is already the highest selling rookie jersey out of his draft class, which just goes to show you that in the eyes of Esau Edom, we're just slaves. We're just, you know, a means to an end to make money, and that's one of the main reasons, you know, why our people sell out, because of the dainties that Esau Edom provides. Okay, even at the cost of our own character. But Shedeur Sanders is an example. And that's, once again, what inspired this lesson on how we go against the grain and go against the mold, the establishment, the machine, if you will, that was set up against us. All because we have trust and faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, just as he has trust and faith in his ability to perform. And I just thought it was a beautiful parallel for this particular lesson. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is we're going to begin in the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter, and Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to the hopeful elect. Now, when you go to Isaiah, the 34th chapter, the headline reads, Edom will fall. And this is something that we're hastening for, that we, being the hopeful elect of Israel, first and foremost. But this is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 8. It says, For it is the day of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai's vengeance, and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. Letting you know that the day Edom falls is the day of the Lord's vengeance. Okay, it's the day and the year of the recompense of the Israelites, where we are redeemed and retribution takes place on our behalf, that hour being the elect first and foremost. Okay, when you go into Zion, in the Lashon Kodash to Zion, it means a monument or a memorial. So this lets you know this is speaking specifically for Israel. And the controversy that's against us is us being in slavery and being in captivity, having these heathen nations over us. Okay? And having the basis of men proclaim themselves to be us. Okay? Let's get Wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha, chapter 5, beginning at the top. Okay, Esau Edom is going to be visited for that great offense. But we have to wait for Yahweh Shemashai until he rises up to the prey. And that's why we are hastening the day that he comes to bring that destruction and that judgment and to deliver his people once again. His Wisdom of Solomon 5, beginning at the top, it says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. This is the Shedeur Sanders scripture. Okay, he stood up in great boldness against the NFL organization and wasn't moved. And they ended up drafting him anyway at pick 5, 144. So how much so the hopeful elect who are putting their ultimate trust and faith in the words written within the scriptures. Okay, we're standing in great boldness in the face of Esau Edom, who made no account of our labors as a people, even to this day. Okay, It says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. Because when Yahweh Shemashai comes, it's going to be a miraculous return, and it's going to be a miraculous deliverance. Just as we speak of the ancient deliverance and or the deliverance in ancient Egypt, okay, we're going to be speaking about in the kingdom the deliverance from Babylon the Great. And this is something that's going to take place in our lifetime. So we're in some very exciting times through the Spirit, which is why it's worth reporting and prophesying, to continue to instill that strength to continue on and to fight your infirmities and to fight your temptations. Okay, because we have a great glory and a great victory that's awaiting us as long as we endure. Okay, let's get Matthew chapter 5, beginning at verse 13. Okay, and this is red letter. So these are the words of Yahweh Shai. It reads, ye are the salt of the earth. So this is Yahweh Shai speaking about his people, the Israelites, because he too was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. It says, but if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. So the Israelites are the salt of the earth. We're what makes this world turn. We're building these cities. We're keeping this infrastructure going. We're providing the entertainment. Okay? The Hebrew Israelites, even in their lowest state, are what's making the world go round, so to speak. It says, ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. And we are being used and abused by our blood, sweat, and tears, exploited, right? Mocked, scoffed, humiliated, given the crumbs of the table off the elites. But Yahweh Shemashai has something much greater for us. This is not the expected end of the Israelites, to continue to grovel and beg for crumbs and beg for justice. Okay? That ultimate justice, that ultimate recompense is going to come by way of thermonuclear missiles to this wicked kingdom, and by a miraculous deliverance from what this world ignorantly calls UFOs. Okay? This is the future that we're looking for, that we're prophesying. Okay? Verse 16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And this is coming by way of the prophets, who are exalting the names of Yahweh Shemashai and being obedient to what those looking to be delivered would be doing in said times. Okay? They would be prophesying. They would be on the street corners. They would be doing lessons of exhortation. They would be changing their lives to cast off that old man. These are the things that the hopeful elect will be doing. And these are the things that are currently taking place. Even now, as the Lord Yahweh Shemashai is exposing the false teachers among us and making that proverbial line in the sand who he's actually been dealing with, which are the elect. Okay? And that is a very small remnant. That is not the whole nation. Let's get Isaiah 45 verse 4. It says, for Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect. Okay, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. Okay, but it says, for Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect. Okay, Jacob being symbolic for the southern kingdom, Israel being symbolic for the northern kingdom. Together we make the nation of Israel, 12 tribes, one nation. But this is letting you know that Yahweh Shemashai recognizes us as his elect. Okay, so out of all the nations that were created, Yahweh Shemashai cares for only one nation. But amongst that chosen nation is a small remnant. Okay, the elect of the elect, if you will. Okay, and those are those that are going to be saved in these coming days of tribulation. And let's prove that with Isaiah, the 10th chapter, beginning at verse 20. And the headline reads, a remnant shall be saved. I'm going to read from verse 20 to 22. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again say upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty power, Yahweh Shema Shai. For through thy people Israel, for though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. So the remnant are going to return. Okay? That's those that are doing this work in truth and sincerity, letting you know that it's going to be a small number that's delivered. So how much more of our people are going to be destroyed for not heeding this warning while they yet had liberty? That should send fear within you, especially considering the times that we're in. Let's get Isaiah 9. Okay. Going to show that when we say the elect, this is proof that the elect is based on promise and lineage. Okay. This is Romans 9. I'm going to read verses 6 to 8. It says, not as though the word of the Most High hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Okay? Because Abraham had many sons, but the seed line came through Isaac. That's why you hear that common tagline of patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Israel became the progenitor of the 12 tribes. That is the seed line of the promise. Okay? Verse 8, that is, they which are the children of the flesh are not the children of the Most High, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. So that's the one who's counted for the blessing. Okay, and among them is a very small remnant. Now, true indeed, all Israel shall be saved, but it's going to begin with the elect first and foremost, and through those individuals that make it and are delivered, the rest of the nation is going to come back. Okay. Let's get Matthew 24, beginning at verse 31. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 31. It says, and this is red letter, this is Yahweh Shai. It says, and he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And this is going to show you that the elect are scattered. They're not all here in Babylon the Great. One of the main curses that befell our nation for breaking the law, statute, commandments given to us was the diaspora, or the scattering of the Israelites. So we've been scattered amongst all the nations, okay, on the planet. That's why I said in my opening statement that this message is going out not just to the so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans, but also those that have been scattered amongst the nations, that look like the other nations and speak the languages of the nations they've been scattered to. This isn't about color, okay? This is about the spirit. All right? So the Lord's going to gather us in these last days from all these nations we've been scattered. And the Lord requires that number. And Lord willing, that number is sealed so the destruction can come, because we're ready to get out of here through the Spirit. The saints are wore out. Let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 6, beginning at verse 54. And it reads, after all these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this I have spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Okay, so this is going to show you that when it comes to the chosen, it's only from the line of the Israelites. These other nations have nothing to do with the promises that are written for our nation. Okay? And that's mirrored in 2nd Ezra chapter 9, beginning at verse 21. Okay, it says, and I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster and a plant of a great people. Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grace be kept and my plant. For with great labor have I made it perfect. So the Lord says, let the multitude perish. These other nations can perish. He kept him a grape of the cluster, which is speaking about Israel, but specifically the elect of Israel. The Lord doesn't care about these other nations. Okay? And there's many scriptures that go into that, but the point of this is an exhortation for the Israelites to remain strong and to continue to endure, because deliverance is for us, and it's coming soon. And we're going to end this in Romans 11, verse 7, which reads, "What then? Israel had not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election had obtained it, and the rest were blinded." The rest were blinded from the truth, but the elect have obtained it, and they're going to hold on until the end and do what's necessary and needful for salvation through the Spirit. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the hopeful elect. I want to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and salutations to the hopeful elect who are continuing to fight and teach this thing of ours in truth and sincerity. This has been your brother Manat Dazak. Until the next lesson, Shalom.